Today on the show, much earlier in the week than we usually preview a game, but of course the Seahawks and Cardinals set to clash on Thursday Night Football in a game with huge implications in the NFC West, the only division that has all four teams with a winning record. Every single one of these divisional matchups is going to be key. And joining me today, my old friend Walter Mitchell from the Red Rain podcast. I always appreciate his perspective from an objective standpoint, not just in evaluating his own team, but also in the respect that he gives to opponents and his thoughts on what he's seen from the Seahawks so far. A lot of criticism today in the desert of the Cardinals, the offense, Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr., and especially the play caller, Drew Petzing. A lot of fans calling for that position to see a change. So we'll get his thoughts on that. And then also that defense that has kind of been their calling card. And they're known for getting pressure on the quarterback. We haven't seen a lot of that to this point. We'll talk about that with Walter Mitchell coming up next on Seahawks Forever.
Welcome to the Seahawks Forever podcast. In-depth analysis on everything Seahawks. And now, here's your host, Dan Viens.
Have you come down yet? Have you come down yet from the buzz of 44-13? When you wake up today, there's a lot of really cool stuff when you talk about statistical rankings around the league. Point differential looks pretty great for the Seahawks today. They're at plus 41. Every other team in the division is between 10 and 12. When you talk about the health of the roster and potentially getting some guys back for Thursday, being able to rest some players late yesterday. Whereas on the flip side of that coin, the Cardinals had an opposite experience yesterday in Santa Clara, losing a tough one late, playing against a physical 49ers team, losing James Conner, and having to play hard all the way up to the whistle. What kind of impact will that have on Thursday? We'll see. And we're going to talk about all those things, including some a surprising top-ranked player overall in the league after 3 weeks. We'll get into that a little bit as well. Before we do, if you would subscribe to the channel, I am a full-time independent content creator, and it's the best way to support the channel and get it out there in front of more people, and it doesn't cost you a penny. The other ways that you can support me, though, more directly are all listed and linked down below in the description. And before we get to Walter, let me remind you about the Red Hot Sales event still going on from the folks at Omaha Steaks, USDA certified steaks delivered to your door, individually packed. They also have burgers and franks and chicken products and even desserts, which, if you know me, you know about the sweet tooth. Omaha Steaks have been a staple of the Viens family ever since I was a kid, and right now is the best time for you to try them if you haven't before. 50% off their most popular variety packs, plus for being a viewer of this program, $35 additional off if you use the promo code FOREVER. So go to omahasteaks.com, check out their lineup, pick which one you'd like. You can get a variety of different cuts, and you're going to get 50% off plus $35 additional shipped to your door using the promo code FOREVER. All right, you guys, let's get to this. This is Walter Mitchell of the Red Rain podcast. He and I talking about the Thursday night matchup between the Cardinals and the Seahawks. Enjoy. All right, Walter, thanks for joining me again. We meet again. The Seahawks and Cardinals set to clash on Thursday Night Football down in the desert this week. Always a good, entertaining matchup, at least. I know you have some thoughts on how the game usually goes down in Arizona. We'll talk about that. But there is one thing we're going to start here. There is something that the Seahawks and the Cardinals share and have in common, and that is we both lost to the 49ers in games that we feel like we shouldn't have lost. Looked like the Cardinals had control of this one after the safety. 16-15 the final score, though. Less than 2 minutes left. The 49ers with a hobbled quarterback march down and get the field goal. Just start there. Your thoughts overall on that loss for the Cardinals, dropping them to 2-1.
Well, Cardinals are 2-1 because the defense has closed out games 1 and 2. The offense was unable to in both of those games and unable to again yesterday with a 15-13 lead. They made a good throw, I think, maybe a little behind Zay Jones, but the 49ers cornerback Upton Stout.
Yeah.
I thought made a heck of a play. And I mean, our fans are saying Jones should have caught that 99%. I'm thinking, looking at that, and the way that Stout got his arm underneath Zay Jones's right arm and thundering him down to the ground, I just don't know how Jones would have been able to survive both the contact there. But and then we had to punt it, and Jonathan Gannon had vowed after our second game cliffhanger, where again we're letting a team back in the game and the defense has to stop, that he wouldn't run sort of soft zone prevent again. Well, we saw a soft zone prevent, and Mac Jones just carving it up, open receiver, to 6 different receivers, I think it was, or 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And the crushing one was a short little screen pass to McCaffrey, who matriculated the ball down the field into easy field goal range.
Yeah.
At that point, I am like gasping for a ventilator. And so we lose. And I got to say, the offense is 0-3 in finishing out games, and our defense is 2-1. So we're 2-1 thanks to the defense more than the offense.
Yeah, similar to the way the Seahawks game finished, thought we had it in hand, let the 49ers drive down the field. Couple of big plays. There was a big passing play in that drive as well for Mac Jones. With us, it was Brock Purdy, of course, and then ending on a note that we didn't like, right?
Right.
I want to go over some specifics of the game, and in particular, well, let's start here. You mentioned the drop by Zay Jones, or not the drop. I agree with you. I saw the clips that you posted. I think you credit Stout for a pass breakup there. Don't know if officially he got one, but he certainly impacted the catch there. But there's another drop that's getting a lot of attention today with Marvin Harrison Jr. And again, in his second year now, just fans feeling like he's not making the impact they expect from a top 5 receiver. Had a big drop where he was absolutely wide open in the clear. Looked like he got caught between overhanding it or underhanding it. After the game, this is what he said: "Everybody's got a job to do. I'm not doing my job at a high enough level at the moment."
Right.
What's going on with him?
Great kid. Great. Look at that. Owned up. Here's what I believe is going on with him. The level of expectation for this poor kid coming into Arizona was just impossible, in my opinion, for him to live up to. Not only does he have to live up to his dad's, status, but I could see coming out of Ohio State, there were going to be some areas of his game that he's going to, over the years, need to get better at to be a consistently outstanding pro wide receiver. So I had tempered expectations, but the Cardinals fans, everything's about Marv. Everything. Tank for Marv, play for Marv, throw it to Marv. Marv's not getting this, Marv. And I think that's created a 400-pound gorilla on Marv's back and on Kyler's, because Kyler's got to. Kyler hears the noise.
Yeah.
And it's so uncharacteristic of him. And he dropped a ball in the end zone later on. This is not Marv. Everybody knows this kid, if he has anything, it's tremendous Velcro hands. So, I think Marv on the first one got caught peeking around to see where he could run with the ball before he caught it. And it was sort of twisting up there, lobbed in the wind. And he had Fred Warner beating on him. And on the second one, it was a bang, bang into the end zone. We got a flag on the play for holding. And Marv had it in his hands and couldn't secure it through the ground. So, but he bounced back in certain ways. I mean, he had our best TD, or actually only TD drive, was started with like a 40-yard pass to Marv down the left sideline, similar to the one that he dropped. So he came back with a big catch there, and the future is bright for Marv. The question for us becomes, or certainly for me, is when you play in a run-heavy offense like Drew Petzing's, that's not entirely QB friendly. And you're going to be up against this if the more you try to run the ball with Kubiak. And sometimes you risk sort of freezing out your quarterback and your wide receiver and stuff. It's just a funky kind of mix. I mean, that's why I was banging the table for Brock Bowers, because I thought he would have been the perfect fit opposite McBride. Nobody could cover both of them. And we haven't been wide receiver centric since Gannon showed up. So now you got this potentially stud wide receiver, but the offense doesn't run through him. It runs through Trey McBride, and it ran through James Conner, who unfortunately went out with a severe ankle injury, and he is our bell cow, the heart and soul of our offense. And now we're going to have 4 days to kind of refigure who the bell cows beyond Trey McBride are in this offense.
Yeah, let's stay there for the moment. The passing game and the receiver core. And you and I feel like every time we've talked, be it in the offseason or when we're getting ready to play each other, have talked about the lack of a complementary wide receiver piece, right, to go along with Marvin Harrison, and how they really haven't even prioritized that in the draft the last couple of years, even though there's been a lot of depth at that position. And it's through 3 games this year, it's as remarkable as ever. McBride leads the team with 17 catches. Marvin Harrison has his 10 catches. The next wide receivers, Zay Jones and Michael Wilson, both have 3 each.
Correct.
Greg Dortch, has 4 on 4 target. They're just not developing any alternative weapons there. And yet, Harrison seems to get open. And maybe that's the McBride factor. McBride caught the touchdown in the fourth quarter yesterday. That was a huge play at the time.
Yeah.
But, I think you and I have been on the same page. We talked over the offseason. We both like Michael Wilson.
Right.
They're just not getting him involved in this offense. Yeah. And now James Conner goes out. And thankfully, I haven't seen the video. I heard it's not pretty, not one of those you want to watch. Really feel for the kid. Yep. I say kid, he's almost 30 years old now, but everything he went through earlier in his career and coming back from cancer and then being given up on and cut and having that resurgence in his career, he's just such a steady pro. So to hear about an injury like that, he's out for the year. He's going to require surgery on that ankle. But you're in pretty good hands there with Trey Benson, it would appear. Last year's 3rd rounder out of Florida State, who some people thought was the most talented running back in the class last year. Big kid with speed. He's averaging 6 yards a carry. Yeah. How do you then carry on after the Conner injury, knowing now that, you don't have the 2-headed monster at running back, you have just the one guy.
Right.
And then just not a lot of options in the pass game.
It's frustrating to me. We're like, with Kyler Murray, we're like check down city. It's like pre-snap agita. We did all these motions. The mouse traps that Shanahan, Robert Saleh made on defense was, we're not going to chase the motions, but we're going to still play man on you. And so I think it sort of confused Kyler pre-snap, and we had problems down to the 0 on every shot, play clock. Oh, it's just so frustrating just getting the snap off. And then, catch 1, 2, just throw it 5 yards to a safety valve. And it's just driving people nuts, driving me nuts. It's just, and Kyler was this same way post the Green Bay game in 2021 for the rest of his time with Cliff. And if you've watched Cliff's offense since, it doesn't look anything like that.
Yeah.
So, and people say now they want to blame this on Petzing, the OC, like he's calling those checkdowns. And I mean, any football knowledgeable guy who understands how offenses work, no, a check down is just a safety valve.
Yeah.
It's not your number 1 option on the play, and it's typically not your second option on the play. So it's really frustrating. And how many running back catches do we have? I bet we have more running back catches than the
Yeah,
secondary wide receiver.
Benson and Connor with 8 each, and I'm surprised that DeMarcado doesn't have any. But yeah, they have 16 between them, which is more than all the wide receivers outside of Harrison combined.
And
Yeah.
almost all of them together.
I'm kind of cycling through some other reactions here, and it seems like one of the common themes among fans today is they're putting this on Drew Petzing. Right. Coaching stinks. Why do we have to watch other teams throw the football down the field, little dink and dunk passes? This is Kyler's PFF page today. He's ranked 7th overall in their grades. He's been very, very efficient. High completion percentage, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, hasn't really been making mistakes. And yet, there's things that you see, and I watched every snap of that game yesterday.
Right.
That you know me, I have been a Murray skeptic and have been really ever since probably the year before here at his ACL. I just didn't see him taking those steps in the offseason, didn't see him getting better, didn't see him building on those scary traits that we saw from him and the playmaking ability his first couple of years. I still don't see that. I see 3rd and 8s where he throws an uncatchable ball. Or some plays where he just almost seems to give up on a play. What are your thoughts on where he is today as a quarterback, and then kind of tie that into some of the criticism that Petzing is getting?
Yeah, well, part of his offensive grade is affected by how elite his feet are. And he's doing great stuff with his feet when he's not running straight backwards under pressure. And if he learns more to do what Jalen Hurts does, escape through the middle like he did twice brilliantly in the Super Bowl, he will drive defenses nuts. But Kyler's kind of skittish about trying to escape through the middle. It goes back to your Seattle game, like when he was in the second year and someone clotheslined him trying to escape up the middle. I forget, one of your maybe it was Reed. One of your D tackles just kind of, it was like longest yard, clotheslined him, and he hurt his shoulder on the play. And hasn't been very keen on escaping up the middle since. But Kyler's a unique talent. I mean, he's got the arm. But at times he tends to float the ball.
Yeah,
and I think he tends to get real panicky under pressure. You saw this last year in your 2 Seattle games. He turned the ball over, 3 times on plays where you wonder, what were you thinking? Now, one, he was tremendously baited by Ernest Jones. That play, I think a lot of quarterbacks could have fallen into because Jones made just a
hell of a play.
You know, and Kobe Bryant made a great play, but that pass was ill-advised, and or a couple of them. So, yeah, I mean, there's something about Kyler's inability to finish games and seasons that wears you down on your kind of, the way you think about him. You just want him to be able to take, like yesterday. I mean, who wins that game? It's Mac Jones.
Yeah, on one leg.
Full command on one leg.
Mm-hmm.
And he's there when you need him most. And he's delivering like dominoes. So, and Kyler had 2 chances in the offense. Jadrian Taylor-Demerson, which, by the way, watch out for that kid in the deep middle. He is special. He gets the pick in a tie game. We get the ball near midfield, 3 and out. Then we punt. Then we get the safety. We got all the momentum, 3:05 left. And we run 7 plays and have to punt. And, with great field position in both cases, because, when you punt it these days in the safety, you could get the ball near the 40-yard line or 35 at the most. So, yeah, it was frustrating. It's frustrating to see, these late game stalls, and then of course the late season stalls are epic by now because post Thanksgiving, Kyler has not played well for one season in his career.
I got the passing chart up there now. To your point earlier, the criticism of the offense, looks like 9 or 10 attempts out of his 35 were behind the line of scrimmage, only 6 of them beyond 10 yards.
Right.
I did notice something, though, and I noticed this watching some of the Carolina game the week before, and then you can see it even in this chart, where one of the big criticisms of him has been his unwillingness or inability to work the middle of the field, and how maybe that clashed with what Marvin Harrison does so well. But I see some improvement there. At least you can see him spraying the ball pretty evenly all throughout the field.
Yep. Yeah, he does. He's got some issues there. Of course, there was one pass he threw over the middle to Tip Ryman where he was triple teamed and never touched the ball. Unfortunately, 2 of the linebackers collided, and the ball wasn't picked off. Kyler has the passing over the middle has been sort of his blind spot. He's he's pretty reluctant to do it, but he's good on crossers. So once they cross through, he's really good on sideline passes and cross corners. That's his wheelhouse. It's cross corners, sideline passes, digs where you get through the second hash. He's right on, spot on that, on those. Those are sort of like dig routes. And if you send a running back up the middle, Dan, where a lot of teams do, and they're in zones, he'll throw that every time. So, but traditionally, I mean, look at our slot receivers. They don't get much. I mean, I love Greg Dortch. I mean, Brett Coleman calls him the Dorcher Chamber for NFL defense.
It's a great nickname, yeah.
But Kyler just has his favorite guys, and it's only 1 or 2, and you just don't get the ball otherwise. And Dortch is one of those guys. He's not in the, in the top 5 of Kyler's favorite targets.
For quarterbacks with a minimum 50 dropbacks so far, Murray 30th in the NFL at average depth of target at just 6.5 yards. On the other side of the coin going into this game, Darnold 5th in the league at 9.3 to this point. Let's talk about the defense, because that has been what you've hung your hat on the last couple of years. While some of the young offenses come together, they sort of rebuilt the offensive line a couple of years ago, and then we just talked about the weapons. But Jonathan Gannon's a defensive guy and helped win a Super Bowl on defense, and a lot of draft resources devoted to that side of the ball over the last 2 drafts. A lot of guys that I really liked, but there's some injuries there, especially in the secondary. The cornerback room is really beat up. How do you feel about that defense overall? Obviously, they weren't able to slow down the winning drive yesterday. But for a defense, one thing that kind of jumps off the stats for me so far, for a defense that's known for pressuring quarterbacks, I was surprised to see that even though their pass rush win rate is solid, they are 12th per next gen stats in the league at pass rush win rate. They're not getting home, just 5 sacks through 3 games. How do you feel about the defense overall?
I mean, I think other teams know, and they're getting rid of the ball quickly. And I think the fact that the Cardinals play a lot of zone aid and abets the being able to get rid of the ball quickly, because guys are like, if you just look at their last drive, the 49ers, 5-6 passes, all of them wide open. And then you try to tackle them and try to get them to fumble, but it doesn't work, against a team like the 49ers. Are disciplined. They're not going to fumble easy catches. And that's my big concern about the Nick Rallis defense, is that at times it's pretty soft. But the pressure's getting better. But I think other quarterbacks feel like, I think we make average quarterbacks look pretty good because we give them easy outs, easy passes at times. I'd love to see a game where they decided to come in and just say, we're manning up all game long. We're going to come after the quarterback. We're going to send exotic blitzes, and we're going to live with, whatever happens. But they're too afraid. It's amazing to me, Dan. We're the by far youngest coaching staff in the NFL. I mean, with no senior veteran advisors, zero. I mean, yesterday, you have Robert Salah and you have Gus Bradley next to him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, their years of experience together are worth more than our whole entire coaching staff, practically. I mean,
yeah.
so
it's an interesting point because they did that here. Mike McDonald right away brought Leslie Frazier with him. And then this offseason, when they wanted to rebuild the offense, they made sure to bring, even though John Benton has a lot of experience, they brought Rick Dennison in as an assistant even. Yeah. And so trying to balance out that youth. Yeah.
And you can't be, in my opinion, the most inexperienced coaching staff and one of the most conservative.
Yeah.
I mean, the combination just doesn't, if you're so afraid to get thrown over the top, and I think your strength on your offense is over the middle. I mean, your Ohio State kid, Jackson, is having a tremendous, and Darnold is good with slots. I mean, he is. And I think Darnold, if you look at his QBR and his RTG, are just what they were with the Vikings. So it looks like it's been a seamless transition for him over to you guys. I mean, I think he's still playing on that kind of level.
He is currently the number one graded quarterback overall through 3 games in the NFL at a 91.9 overall grade. Here's what the rankings look like with, you see Kyler Murray there at 7th. And Darnold overall, it doesn't go over far enough, but I was just looking up the time to throw stats and the update on that. Darnold, 2nd in the league, minimum 50 dropbacks, just literally 0.02 of a second behind Matt Stafford. So you talk about teams have attacked the Cardinals, getting rid of the ball quickly. That is something that the Seahawks have done even from week 1 when it was a little bit tougher sledding, finding plays down the field. And Jackson Smith-Njigba was the only option that Darnold had in that case. Still was able to get the ball off incredibly quickly. I thought, just put this up. Someone came up with this yesterday. I thought this was great. The redhead redemption for Darnold. Your thoughts on what you've seen from him so far and the level of quarterback he's playing?
Like I said, I think this is Minnesota part 2. And you got a similar, sort of coach working with him. I mean, he's worked with before. All these Niner cast-off backup quarterbacks are hitting big time. I mean, they're getting their apprenticeship from the right guy.
Right.
And then they're coming to other teams with also disciples that work back towards Shanny's system, and boom, they're made to order. And, what I love about Darnold is that he's a tough kid who will stand in there and take a hit. I mean, we pounded him for 3 quarters in Minnesota last year. We had a pretty commanding lead. And dang, if in the 4th quarter he didn't take every hit to get them the win. I mean, we came after him, and then we backed off, and then it was easy again, a soft zone, and he went down the field, and it was so soft. He had Justin Jefferson on a 4th and 7, which would have won the Cardinals the game if they stop it, wide open on a seam route. And he just had to turn around, and no one's near him. Yeah. I mean, how that ever happens to Jefferson in a key situation, I can't. That's why I kind of get.
He beat us that exact same. He beat us that way too last year too, with 4 minutes left, hitting Jefferson. So we feel for it, yeah.
So
relate.
I mean, this kid will play 60 minutes. That's what I love about Darnold too, is he'll play 60 minutes. That's what I worry about Kyler. But Darnold is in it for the 60 minutes, and if he struggles early, now he had that stinker of a playoff game that people will, sort of berate him on, but I don't. I think that, everybody's got a bad game in you, but by and large, he played at an MVP level last year. I think you've got a dandy.
Checking in on this week's doings in the Sleeper app. My individual picks, not so good, you guys. I got hurt by the Seahawks winning so easily. I was right on my pick. Geno Smith over 225 yards, but Sam Darnold and Kenneth Walker just didn't get those yardage marks. Of course, not playing the fourth quarter in either one of those. But my game picks, whole different story. I still don't know what's going on, you guys. 13-2 this week. I am killing it through 3 weeks in this thing. Something's up. Something is up in the universe. But here's one thing I do know, and this is the best sports app out there. You can pick games like this. If you're in the Sleeper pool with us or the Seahawks Forever pool, we'll be showing those results after the results of Monday Night Football. You can play daily fantasy sports. You can get into public leagues. You can play best ball. And there are games of skill as well. And right now, if you want to sign up for those, they're going to match your first deposit up to $100, 100% if you use the promo code FOREVER. So check out the Sleeper app. Those games are legal in 25 states. There are terms and conditions that apply, of course, but they're going to match your first deposit up to $100, 100%. Check out the Sleeper app today. Here's
a bargain price, too.
Yeah.
Bargain price.
Absolutely. I was looking, this is what I was looking for. I was able to find it to your point earlier. Jackson Smith and Jigba this season, 22 catches, 323 yards. Every Cardinals receiver combined, including Marvin Harrison,
correct,
20 catches for 204 yards. The Buckeye fans will be watching this one on Thursday. Two of the best to ever do it in Ohio State. How close do you think Harrison is to having that breakout performance?
He's had a couple before. Last year against the Rams, he had a huge game when we routed them early in the season. So he's had 9 touchdowns in his limited career. He's really good in the red zone. I just think you got to let this kid breathe, and just the pressure on him so enormous, and I think that you got to temper your expectations on him and let him breathe a little bit, and then you got to key on him more. You got to run him in motions, and I had an idea that I thought would really work would be to flex him opposite Trey McBride, and then run the similar route tree that McBride runs to his side, only with Marv on the other side, because all those routes are in Kyler's wheelhouse. Those are the ones that he routinely clicks on and throws and leads the receiver perfectly. And because that, I think, would get Marv the ball more often. And I think it would be extremely difficult for teams to defend McBride doing it on one side and Marv on the other.
I want to talk about this concept. Somebody posted this here. Dating back to 2024, the Cardinals are 2-9 against teams with a winning record. They've averaged just 18 points per game in those outings, and then they list them here. 2 of those were against the Seahawks. But they've also had trouble this year. Like, I thought they had, of all the teams in the division, I thought they had the most favorable early schedule, opening with the Saints and a first-year head coach in Kellen Moore,
right,
and then the Panthers, who were coming off a really bad week 1 performance. And yet, as you mentioned earlier, they kind of had leads in those games, and both of them let teams back in, especially against the Panthers. And then they were able to play the 49ers right down to the wire.
Right.
Is this a case of a team still needing to grow up? I mean, there's so many young pieces there being put together.
Yeah.
Although they did infuse that roster with a couple of veterans we'll talk about here in a second. How do you feel like then, given this, and then even coming off the Connor injury, which can sometimes be so deflating for a team, it can also rally a team.
Right.
Where do you think their mindset is today with a game just 3 days away?
Well, I think they're thinking back to the squandered opportunities last year, the ones who were here last year, obviously, and with real regret. I'm sure, those were 2 of the most bitter losses. I think people still have sort of morning after sickness about Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah, I was at that game. Yeah,
That
that was
was, I
that
mean,
was a career-defining performance for him to this point.
I know, and good for him, but bad for us. I mean, in a game of that magnitude, which was so important to come bounce back from losing up at your place to, you know, laying an egg, total egg at home with your fans. By the way, tickets are only $41 right now at State Farm
Ah,
Stadium.
we're probably
So,
going to be back in
Seahawks
Arizona.
fans, if you want to make the
Yeah,
trip, which you did last year in droves,
yeah.
if you guys travel well, there are open seats. You don't even have to scalp them.
Let me stop you there for a second, and I wish I was there. We'll probably be in Arizona in about a month, but
Yeah.
because I noticed something when I was at that game last year, and
Mhm.
and this was a team. It was early enough in the season, and there was a lot of buzz around this team, and there was a lot of optimism around them, and they were still in contention to challenge for the division at that point. And yet, I didn't feel a lot of electricity in the stadium. And then
Right.
I went up at one point to grab myself a beer, and I walked back, and we were in club seats, so I walked back into kind of the VIP area where there's couches and big screens, and it was packed.
Yeah.
There was probably 500 people sitting inside
Right.
watching the game on a TV screen when the actual game was happening in
Correct.
club seats right
Right.
out there. And then I've seen the pictures from the home games so far. And
Yep.
then you talk about, for tickets to cost that, it obviously means there's less demand. Why has that region been so slow to embrace this team?
Yeah, you make a really great point, and they converted one of the end zones, took the seats out to make it like a,
Yeah, that's
like a
pretty
garden
cool.
where people could mingle and have a mimosa and, kinda peek at the game every now and then.
Yeah, it's like the pen out in center field at T-Mobile Park for the Mariners. Yeah, it's a pretty cool
Yes,
spot.
yes, and they're trying to, it's a party hardy stadium where, you're gonna come in, and that's just so counterintuitive to go to a football game and be in a suite watching the game on TV. I
Yeah.
mean, but they people do it because they were with their friends, and it's like an indoor tailgate. Only you get the TV version.
Yeah.
It's not surprising to me, and I mean, the Cardinals are used to this now. Of other teams that travel well, basically come in and dominate our stadium. And last year, I thought your fans were real factor in that game. I think they were louder than our guys.
Yeah, there were certainly times in that game where it felt 50-50 at worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's talk about the defense. I mentioned that, some key veterans were brought in. Josh
Yeah,
Sweat
yeah.
obviously was a big free agent signing. Pass rush has been an issue there for a while. But
Right.
my goodness, the ageless wonder, Calais Campbell, I think he leads the
Great.
team in sacks at this
Yep.
point with two. He just doesn't seem to be slowing down.
Yeah.
Has he said on the record, he said this is probably his last year, right? Is this his swan song?
Yeah, but then yesterday I heard he was going to leave it all out on the field this year and then decide.
Yeah, when you're playing like
So
he's playing.
yeah, he's got 3 sacks in 3 games. He had 2 potential game winners. He had the game-winning sack last week,
Right.
and what
Yeah,
could have
4
been the
downs. That's
game-winning
huge.
safety sack this week. He shows up. He plays 60 minutes, and I couldn't recall. I was saying to my Cardinal fans, I couldn't recall the last time we won a game on a sack. It's been a while. And even when we had Chandler Jones, he was so good for 3 quarters, but
Mm.
he rarely ever got home when you need that sack at the end of a game to lock it out. So that was really encouraging. Josh Sweat's been really good. You're gonna have to your tackles will be challenged by him. But you got two good tackles. And then Dalvin Tomlinson
Yeah.
really came on yesterday defending the run, and he's looking like he's starting to make his push. And But the best thing for me is our 2 inside linebackers are suddenly playing really well. Mac Wilson
Mhm.
Senior gave Christian McCaffrey the business yesterday. I
Yeah,
mean,
he
I've
made a
never
he
seen a
made a big play late in that game, yeah.
inside linebacker play McCaffrey like that, and Wilson's given up speed. I mean, Wilson's like a 4.65, and McCaffrey's more like a 4.45. but he was step for step with McCaffrey all day long. He was plugging the holes. And then Akeem Davis Gaither, ADG, has had a really splendid start. And our young cornerbacks seem to be interchangeable. Will Johnson may be back for your game. He's off to an outstanding start. We lost Garrett Williams. That hurts.
Mm-hmm.
But he's on a return IR, so that keeps us hopeful. But Katrell Clark, Denzel Burke, they're pesky guys, and particularly if you let them be sticky, they'll work hard. And then Elijah Jones from Boston College, who I love, has got size. He played some yesterday, so we got young draft picks that we're using, and in that system, I think they're all pretty good fits. And then, of course, we got the safeties, Buddha and JT.
The Apple Cup duo, one Husky, one Coug. Yeah, they're always. I'm sure they had a lot of fun last week. I'm sure Buddha probably, Jalen probably lost a bet between those two. But talk to me about Darius Robinson, because this is a guy that you and I talked about after he was drafted. We both liked him. He was a guy that I studied pretty intensively because the Seahawks were looking for defensive line help last year in the draft. He started last year. He never really got healthy, but this year he is, and he's just ineffective. One tackle yesterday. According to a chart that I saw yesterday, some analytics, he is yet to record a sack, certainly, or even a run stop, to his credit. What is going on with the first round pick from last year?
Well, he's a tweener. Yeah, I think his ideal position.
Is it a scheme fit thing? Is it just not?
Yeah. Well, I think he's a 4-3 DN. And I think he's put on probably too much extra weight to try to translate to a 3-4 D end, which is basically a D tackle. So it's a 5 technique, but you're basically playing inside most of the time. And yesterday he made a great move, pass rush on Jones, where he threw the little swing pass to McCaffrey that Mac Wilson blew up. So he got a really good pressure then. That was, I think, on a twist stunt up the middle. So that was good. I mean, he's good on stuff like that. It's just, he lost a lot of football last year. The poor guy lost his mom, and he had a calf injury, which Walter Nolan has. It's like curse of the calves, which is why we haven't seen Walter Nolan yet. But I think it's a matter of time. I think they've got to figure out where where to use him and how to use him. But he's a heck of an athlete and great kid, and he's a high motor player.
This game seems to be, when you look at the Cardinals' schedule, like a pivotal one for them, especially coming off the bad vibes from yesterday, the injury to Connor, the coaching criticism that's out there. And I've seen here, we saw it at the end of the Pete Carroll era, how divisive that can be, and how over time it just kind of wears down, positive vibes. After this game, they play the Titans at home, a Titans team that looked like they kind of quit yesterday.
Right.
But then it gets really tough. Colts, the surprise of the league so far.
Right.
Packers, Cowboys. I don't know what happened to them yesterday, but they're certainly a team that on any given Sunday can score 40 points. Then a Seahawks rematch, then 49ers. That is a tough 5-game stretch. How crucial is it for them to find a way to come out with a win on Thursday? Like, if they don't, how loud is the criticism going to get? How loud is the siren going to sound?
Well, after losing those 2 really tough games to you guys, if it still looks like you guys are just whooping us, I mean, after all these wins in a row that you have, and I think my worry is that Leonard Williams is now the Aaron Donald in Kyler Murray's head. And so I was telling my guys, I mean, we could get rolled in this game. I mean, absolutely rolled. And that's really what worries me, is that, on a short week, this will test every bit of metal that the Cardinals have. And, it'll test their veterans to be able to bounce back within 4 days. But I like our veterans, and we lost a huge one in James Conner. We'd like to now we have to sort of, I think, reinvent our offense a little bit now that Connor's out, because he was the epitome of why you want to run a Drew Petzing ball control 12 and 13 personnel guy. And I'm not sure we have deep enough bell cow running backs to do that. So, we're sort of in transition now. I think in a short week, you don't do much to change anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is huge. I mean, if you guys have this sort of stigma on us that continues, I mean, quite frankly, no offense to you guys, but typically in Arizona, you worry about the Rams and 49ers more. So if you are kicking our ass, I mean, where are we going to go with this thing? I mean, so it's been hard, and but your team is really coming on, and I like your chances in the division. But I like ours too. If we can bounce back and get a huge win, we haven't beaten McDonald yet. We didn't beat Geno Smith ever. I mean, so yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like a stigma right now and something to get off our backs. I think it would be huge. It would be a huge relief. But I think it's going to be very difficult, especially if your fans show up and the way they did last year and make things noisy.
If someone was tuning into this show and didn't know much about either of these teams and just listened to this conversation and then saw the Seahawks coming off a 44-13 win over the Saints, a Saints team that the Cardinals kind of struggled with a couple weeks ago, and then they look at the point differentials in the division where the Seahawks are plus 41, everybody else is 10, 11, 12. They might think, well, I know who's going to win this game, right?
Right.
And yet ESPN thinks the Cardinals are going to win this game. It's close. They've got their win probability, according to ESPN analytics, at 52.3%, and they have the Cardinals as a 1.5 point favorite.
Right.
How do you, as objectively as you can, how do you see this game going?
Well, I heard a rumor that Dan Orlovsky and Mina Kimes were seen going to the bookie to bet heavily on the Seahawks. Given, I mean, I don't understand that. I mean, they chart the history of these teams. I mean, that's a factor. And and given what you said about point differentials, and I think, both the Niners and us had our hands full with New Orleans, had to go down to the wire. You guys, smelled the coffee and realized, let's not let these guys hang around. And you got after them early and you stayed on them. You pinned them down. I think we sort of wore them down a little for you after 2 weeks. I think it gave them, everything they had to stay in those games with us. But still, I mean, here's the thing: is that here's what I really like about McDonald, and I've said this to you, and I'm saying it to everyone who will listen. I think the guy's pretty special, and here's why. He could have run it back with Geno Smith. Geno Smith wanted out. Good, go. He could have run it out with Ryan Grubb. There was something about Grubb that just didn't quite feel right. There were really good things about him. What coaches do this? He didn't like his 2 inside linebackers last year. Yeah. Free agents got rid of him, traded him, and now you have Ernest freaking Jones. I mean, and your other kid's playing well, right? Who's the kid?
Tyrese Knight.
Yeah,
he was a little banged up to start the season. He's given up some snaps to Drake Thomas these days, but he's
solid too, right? Yeah. So, and so this is a guy who comes in with a plan, and if certain guys, he evaluates and said, this isn't quite what I envisioned it. He's not afraid to move on and move on quickly. Mm-hmm. He's not like extending this out for years where he's like going to try to blindly support a player he's not sure fits his system. So, and your kid Byron Murphy is coming on like gangbusters.
Yeah. 2.5 sacks the last 2 weeks. Yeah.
I mean, once you got that going with your defensive interior and you've got some good edges, you're creating great pressure, and then you're safe. Your secondary has the potential to be special. I mean, the only thing that really hurt you was Tariq Woolen kind of losing a couple balls week one,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, the balls that normally he would have gotten to or made a better play on, and he got caught in behind or whatever. I was watching that game. But that's a kid with a ton of talent that, we saw as a rookie can really play. And Witherspoon is a stud in the making. But the guy who's really makes it all is Julian Love.
Yeah, and I think he'll be back. I mean, he was seen celebrating, jumping up and down on the sidelines yesterday after a couple of plays. Like, he didn't look injured. I'm not so sure about Spoon still. He tried to give it a go before the game yesterday. It wasn't good enough. And then he was seen. There was a play I saw on the sideline where he was running down to congratulate someone, and there's still a pretty visible limp there. And as well as Darian Kendrick, the guy that they claimed on roster cut down from the Rams, is playing in the slot with 2 interceptions the last 2 weeks. Could have had 5. He needs to do some jugs machine work. I don't think there's any hurry to get him back. I would expect Love to be back. I think we're going to see the rookie Nick Emenwari potentially be back on Thursday as well. I'm not so sure about Spoon. So we'll have to see how that goes, because I know he'd like to play. This is a big game. This is a huge game.
Right.
And for both teams, obviously. But it's, again, I keep putting this up. I think that the division is going to kind of look like this the rest of the season. I think these teams are going to stay close to each other. I still believe, as long as Matt Stafford is healthy.
Yeah.
And we'll see. He came up from one play late in that game yesterday, looking like he was favoring his back. We'll see how he bounces back from that. Right. But as long as they're healthy, I still think they're the best team in this division. I think you can make a pretty strong argument that the 49ers don't deserve to be 3-0. And when you look at all the metrics and all the point differential and everything else, that they're probably the least intimidating or least dominant 3-0 team that you're going to see out there. That these divisional clashes amongst all 4 teams the rest of the year are going to be crucial. And I love that it's got the national spotlight on Thursday. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. So, Walter, it's always great having you on the show, and we will meet again in 4 or 5 weeks when the Seahawks come up to Seattle to play, and hopefully we'll have a lot to talk about between now and then. But best of luck to your team, and I always appreciate your time coming on the show.
Thanks. It's always a joy, and go NFC West. Gotta love our division.
Hey, it's the only division in football right now where every team has a winning record.
Isn't that great?
And that's through 3 weeks. That's very, very unusual. And so, I think Hard Knocks might have got it wrong covering the NFC East in season, because, I think this would have been – I think they should have – I think they missed it in 2 ways, because I think, that AFC West and the coaches you have in that division.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I want to see. I think that one or this one, the power definitely seems to be out in the West as far as just depth of quality of the teams. But
and the coach is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Mel. Talk to you.
Big shout out to my friends at Fast Fashion Brewing on First Avenue in Sodo in Seattle, right next door to Hooverville and right across the street from the Showbox Sodo. Randy and Matt Storm. Matt's the one that runs the brewery down there full time. Drop in if you get a chance. If you're going out to see the Mariners wrap up the AL West after sweeping the Houston Astros, their magic number now just 3. They can clinch as early as Wednesday. If you're down there watching any of those ball games, slide in. They make tremendous beer. I would not lie about something that is so near and dear to my heart. Their German Pilsner is a big favorite of mine, and I know I keep telling you about this, but until you try it, I'm going to keep telling you about the Rain Man, their hazy pale made in conjunction and cooperation with Sean Kemp. Try them out. Let Matt know that I sent you and that you watched the show. I guarantee you're going to love their beers. And when you do, let me know in a comment or a DM or whatever about your experience. Really, really cool spot. Tune in tomorrow. A couple things going on. We've got the Seahawks Syndicate this week. Brandon Kane, Bryce Coots, Mookie Alexander, myself, breaking down the first 3 weeks of the year for the Seahawks And because of the timing of it, we do this the last Wednesday of every month, being able to preview ourselves the Seahawks matchup on Thursday. We'll know some more about some potential injury situations by then as well. And then the NFC West mixtape, Rob Guerrera and I from the Gold Standard podcast, or the Gold Standard Network, will be taking a look around this NFC West that each and every week just gets more and more intriguing and interesting. And the Seahawks now, after winning 2 straight, right in the thick of that. Again, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. All the other ways you can support me are listed and linked down below. Thanks to the Blue Wire Network. Thanks to Sleeper. And again, the folks at Fast Fashion Brewing. Until next time, forever and always, thanks for watching Seahawks Forever.